that whole swath in the middle, the part that makes up America, and by the way, that includes any families making anywhere from 50, 60, 70,000, all the way up to even a couple or a few million a year. The cluster of voting patterns in that is remarkably consistent. So not only am I opposed to this idea of we are the world, it's, well, we're all Americans. We're not rowing the same direction. Okay, which brings us to 3 big Trump wins.
All he do is win, 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 because he's Trump destroying liberal minds. Leave their asses in the dust, and now that he is in, we getting back to building this amazing nation. And we gon' stay there.
I always love how the scream is worked into the rhythm. Here's... Whoa.
Thank you.
I don't know why I had to do that.
That was good.
Yeah.
Close my eyes. I was like, does that senses fail? No.
Impulse control.
I don't have any impulse. It's Friday. I don't have any control.
That's enough out of you under oath. Win number 1. It passed. The Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, SAVED is what we call it. It passed.
House lawmakers have passed a bill that would change the process of voter registration for federal elections. Under this legislation, voters would need to show proof of citizenship. It would also require states to create a program to remove immigrants who do not have documentation from existing voter rolls.
You know what's funny? I was looking down, reading my notes, and it sounded like every black comedian's white guy voice, and I looked up, and it's just a black guy doing the news.
Yes.
He's doing his news voice.
I'm doing my news voice. What is that? So the act passed 220 to 208, which means that 208 people shouldn't have a job.
It's true. Yes.
And that means it goes to the Senate. Now, we've covered this before. If you need a refresher, you can click the links in the description. We always make them publicly available. Requires things like proof of citizenship, right, to accompany voter registration. The registration must be done in person.
Hey.
A standard driver's license, which is really easy to get in some states, is not good enough by itself. Basically ends mail-in or online voter registration. The automatic voter registration when getting a driver's license. If you followed us during the 2020 election, you know I got one at a residence where I hadn't lived for many, many years. And when I tried to check on my vote there in the state of Michigan, it just said in process.
Yeah.
Said in process, and I knew people who did vote, and it also said in process.
Yeah, well, and Tim Walz wanted to do automatic voter registration when you get a license, and he wanted to give licenses to every illegal immigrant in the state.
Yes. No, that's
literally what he said.
Well, that makes sense because that's why, precisely, the left hates this.
In some ways, this is a solution in search of a problem. It's a study with 23 million ballots.
Speaking of mealworms.
0.0001%
Pause.
From undocumented.
He absolutely should be cast as the next Batman villain, Bookworm. I can't think of a better cast.
That's absolutely right.
Like he'd just be like, Batman, would you like to do some bedtime reading? Next, keep going.
Holy bookmarks,
undocumented immigrants or non-citizens.
We're talking about eligible American citizens. Why should you have to pre-register in order to exercise your franchise in
Listen
this
to Black Gene Shalit.
democracy?
I don't like
what
that.
Republicans are doing is once again demonizing immigrants for the sake of making it harder for eligible citizens to register to vote. It's voter suppression in disguise.
Okay, that would hold water, Black Einstein, if the majority of not only white people, black people, brown people didn't support the idea of proof of citizenship and didn't support the idea of at least voter ID. This is one where if people have it explained to them, hey, you just need to prove that you're a citizen to vote. They go, oh, okay, yeah, sure. And let me go one step further. That's not enough. You know the idea that you simply get to vote because you live in a country? That's a very, very new idea. All kinds, and to this day, but throughout history, voting was reserved to people who were largely seen as contributors. If you were simply a taker, if you did not contribute, if you did not pay taxes, if you did not serve your country, you didn't get a say in how the country was run. We're at this point, and just think, why would the Democrats, you have to ask yourself why would Democrats not even want proof of citizenship to vote? It means they want people who aren't citizens to be able to determine the direction of the country. Well, let me ask you this. People who are non-citizens in the United States, how do you think they're going to vote? They're not going to vote in the best interest of the United States. They're going to vote like non-citizens. Clear enough? Which brings us to win number 2.
Oh, come on, hold on, really quickly before we go to win. I'm sorry, I just want to bring this up because I saw this morning. Eric Say
whatever you want.
Eric Swalwell came out and put a video out saying the SAVE Act is going to make it harder on married women because they changed their name. We've talked about this before. Are you telling me that this is such a fundamental right? It's so important that you cannot go and make sure that your name has been changed on your documents to prove your citizenship?
Yeah.
That is one of the lamest arguments that I've ever heard. It's almost like this is the argument the left makes. Black people, they can't figure out how to get an ID.
Yeah, that's what they'll say.
That's the most racist thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
And then finally, to their point, he said, this is their fundamental right. They have these legal American citizens. How do you know? If we lived in a country full of only legal citizens and we had a sealed border, fine. It'd be much easier to tell. But because of your policies, we don't know. And I hate you.
I thought that was a glitch with the soundboard.
I haven't.
No. He was playing. He was playing elevator music.
No, I know. Exactly.
Oh no, Gerald, finish your point.
No, that was my point.
All right. Win number 2, if I may, Gerald.
You may.
This administration is now requiring, so we just talked about voting, illegals to register, which, you would think the left supports because they want you to register your guns.
Yeah.
Now, here's the funny thing about guns is most guns have not committed crimes.
Most?
Yeah, most guns have not committed crimes. Almost all of them, actually. Yeah. But every illegal alien has committed a crime.
What? No.
So it almost makes more sense to register if you're here illegally, and that's exactly what this federal government now is going to require.
The Trump administration is now requiring every undocumented immigrant 14 years and older to register with the federal government.
What is with the weird black guys today?
This is totally accidental.
I half expected him to go, here's the news.
You know when you make a snowman and the head doesn't match the rest of the body?
It's good to see Kenan Thompson moved on from SNL. They're running out of weird women.
Yeah, I was about to say, put it next to a ghost.
It's like they put a head on a building.
They did. That was a ghost he'd be running.
That's a chalk demon next to him.
With a corn cob pipe and a menthol nose.
I didn't even notice that the woman next to him looks like a live carrot. Because I'm just so distracted by him.
Just get assaulted by a bunny.
I didn't notice it looks like anorexic Velma. I can't report the news without my glasses.
Look at this. Hold on. Look at this freeze frame. She's so serious, and he's like, I can't believe I'm sitting next to this pretty woman. Ain't she got a pretty face? Hey. What a wonderful bitch. All right. Keep playing.
Starting April 11th, every non-citizen must register with the federal government. What does that mean? Well, if you're undocumented and 14 years or older, if you've been in the U.S. for more than 30 days, and if you've never been fingerprinted or applied for a visa, then the federal government wants to know you're here.
Yeah. Yes.
Duh.
So
mind your own business, Fed government. Yeah. Stay out of my business.
Oh, damn. That lady dressed like the Michelin Man.
Hey, that's my jacket. Give me back.
Sorry, it's Friday. So yesterday, a judge basically gave this the green light. It means that all illegal aliens have to register with the CBP-1 app. That must be done now.
Yeah.
They're here, or if they prefer, by the way, they can register in person.
This is going to open up people to the most epic trolling. Like, nobody's going to register themselves to be deported, but you all know you have that one friend.
Yeah.
You might be like, hey, Juan.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to be gone, man.
That's the point. It opens up a lot of doors for laughs.
It does.
I think I treat them like sexual predators. They have to go door to door telling people in their neighborhood.
That's not a bad idea.
My name is Enrique. I'm a undocumented migrant.
Yeah.
I live in the house down the street with my 30 family members.
You might have seen the 14 El Caminos.
Yeah. That's us.
I'll mow your lawn for $20.
Yep. So Canadians, by the way, in the United States, they're going to actually, if they're here for more than 30 days, they have to register as snowbirds.
That's hilarious.
Which is going to seriously anger a lot of French Canadians in Florida.
The Canadians got caught up in this.
I never had to do that. Let's pack up, go to Old Orchard.
By the way, I prefer Enrique to a snowbird. I've lived with them.
Well, they don't wear the Speedos. And with this, there are consequences. If you don't comply, well, it's seen as a crime. some should say the crime is coming here illegally, but that's me, Mr. Old-Fashioned. So the punishment could include jail time, fines, and of course, the left also hates this.
It's what we are seeing in the realm of immigration, where they are going after undocumented persons and then individuals.
Hold on, pause. Is she wearing a Mayan hammock as a bra outside of her shirt?
Yeah, she is.
No, it's two. I can't tell if her head is tiny or her boobs are huge.
It's just the other black guy from before. They just gave him a shit, like, hey, I'm back. I'm double dipping in the pay pool. Hey, hey, hey. All right, keep playing.
Our lawful visa holders, they'll eventually keep going.
Every religious or ethnic group in this country has been associated with some criminal organization in the past. Virtually any non-citizen can be sent.
We have a long history of actually ICE making mistakes and detaining U.S. citizens.
So what this means
Detaining
is
not the same as arresting.
Low-hanging fruit for people who could be deported. Not necessarily that these are the worst of the worst criminals.
Yeah, but you were angry when we were getting rid of the worst of the worst criminals.
Doesn't matter anymore.
Remember when you said the guy wasn't in a gang when he was clearly in a gang being sent to El Salvador and you bitched about his rights? This is what I've been saying this since 2015 at least. It's not about dreamers. It's not about anchor babies. What they'll do is they'll try and play on that string so that you have sympathy for a child who's being punished for the sins of their fathers. But we still are a country of laws. But I've said, okay, what do we do with violent offenders? The left doesn't want to get rid of them. What do we do with grown single adults? We're still at that point here. You're here illegally. You're an adult. You need to register. You need to let us know if you're here illegally. And that's a problem with them. They don't want to deport anybody. Here's the proof. The fact that we have any illegal aliens in our prison system. Does that make any sense to you? No. Your tax dollars are supporting MS-13 gang members in American penitentiaries. That's how far we've gone. We have to correct this. Which brings us to win number 3 for those using the CBP1 app. Well, the win isn't just that, there was the whole there was the news about the IRS was going to be sharing data, specifically to help as it related to illegal immigrants, right? So there's going to be more communication between departments.
Right.
That's good. But what's better about it is that some top IRS officials thought that was the people who are in charge of auditing you, of making sure that you didn't make the mistake of writing off a business lunch and not separating your appetizers because they hadn't showed up yet. Those people who demand those receipts and they will go up your ass with a sigmoidoscope on behalf of the government were so offended at the idea of us rooting out people who are here illegally that top IRS officials, whatever that means, they quit. They quit.
The acting head of the IRS was gone. She had resigned over a Trump administration plan for the IRS to give sensitive tax data to immigration authorities, so the Trump administration can use it to target immigrants. The New York Times then reported that the IRS's chief financial officer, the IRS's chief of staff, the IRS's chief risk officer, all have also resigned in recent days.
Goodbye. Fantastic. Wait a minute. You're telling me they had to have a deal? So the federal government had to strike a deal with another part of the federal government to enforce federal law?
Yeah.
That should not be a deal. That should be, hey, we're here for all of the illegal information. I can't believe they filed taxes. What idiots. We're going to send them home.
Right.
It's like watching the IRS officials find out what the IRS has been doing since Al Capone.
Right. Yes. That's a good point. Why do any illegal aliens file tax? Most of them don't.
Right.
Well, it's because they want to get a taxpayer ID number. That allows them to open up a bank account, allows them to be hired as an independent contractor, and it's a loophole where they then think, okay, they've been in the books for long enough, they can obtain some kind of legal status later on.
Or they use their number to buy a house, then move back to Pakistan, rent the house out, screw over the American renter by refusing to fix the pool, refusing to fix the garage, refusing to fix the washing machine, refusing to fix the hail damage that occurred 6 months ago, allowing a leak to go into the renter's bedroom, leaking on their face, waking them up at 3 a.m. with insulation on their face, just so they can not give their security deposit back at the end of the rental terms.
Yeah, that's a good point. It sounds personal, Josh.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't cut the grass, so.
Well, look,
you had a good point.
I appreciate you owning your part.
Jeez.
So, of course, leftists are mad about this, and in this case, they try to point out how illegal aliens are good for the economy.
And I think it's important for people to understand that there are undocumented immigrants in this country who have tax ID numbers who are paying taxes.
Because undocumented people have been contributing up to $100 billion in taxes.
Undocumented immigrants have been told to file their taxes by the tax agency for years. In fact, millions of undocumented immigrants file their taxes, many in the hopes that a record of paying their taxes will help them eventually achieve legal status.
We should remember that there are a number of undocumented immigrants who use Social Security numbers, even if they're fraudulent ones, to file taxes all the time. They could be listing real addresses when they do so. They bring in billions of dollars in tax revenue every year.
Hold on a second. Did that lady just with a straight face broadcast that she was sympathetic to people who committed Social Security number fraud?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
absolutely.
okay. Yeah. You need more proof that these people aren't looking out for you, that they hate you. By the way, Crockett, who's a racist and who's an idiot and who's a fake, she said they contribute $100 billion a year in taxes. We don't really know that. It's pretty tough to find that number. But here's one that we do know. They cost you, the American worker, $150 to $450 billion annually. And that's one that I know by heart because when I used to do the Build the Wall, Change My Minds, that number was $116 billion.
Yep, it got bigger. By the way, some would call that a deficit. You mean I'm bringing in $100 billion and spending at least $150 billion every single year?
Right.
Why did you choose that hill to die on?
Yeah.
It's a stupid thing to say, and Robert Reich says it all the time as well. He's an economist.
Yeah.
Of course you should be able to do math and go, this is still a bad deal for us.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying that these people potentially don't pay taxes to some degree because they have to, because they get a job where it's forced upon them to do that. But we're saying it costs us too much, and even if their argument was right financially, it's a culture issue, it's a security issue.
It's wrong.
We're not going to let this go on.
Let me tell you what it is. It's theft. It's theft. Do you work? Do you pay taxes? Let's say something happens where, I don't know, like a COVID, and you lose your job, right? The government orchestrates lockdowns, and you lose a job, and you fall on hard times. Maybe you, at that point, you live in a country that's willing to help you out, get back on your feet if you're not chronically unemployed and homeless, right? You've paid into that, okay? You've contributed. Well, then it's not there for you because someone else who didn't contribute took it. That's what a deficit is. Hey, does your vote matter, right? Get out and vote, vote or die, as Diddy used to do with his campaign. Great. Your vote has now been stolen from you if someone who is not a citizen is able to vote. They are opposed to every single policy that would be in the interest of you, the American worker, the American. And I want to be clear. People say we're all Americans. No. Some aren't Americans, quite literally. But more importantly, we're not all the same. We're not all the same in this country. Some of us, some of you, many of you, I would say most of you, contribute and want what is best for this country. But if you are an American worker, business owner, taxpayer, you are of no interest to today's left. You are not. Their only interests are the bottom rung of society, people who are here illegally, people who don't work, people who don't pay taxes so they can purchase their votes, right? It's really easy to keep them dependent. And then ultra wealthy billionaires who serve to benefit from manipulated policy. That whole swath in the middle, the part that makes up America, and by the way, that includes any families making anywhere from 50, 60, 70,000, all the way up to even a couple or a few million a year. The cluster of voting patterns in that is remarkably consistent. So not only am I opposed to this idea of we are the world, it's, well, we're all Americans. We're not rowing the same direction. Because a huge portion of Americans, and no one wants to run these numbers, by the way. No one separates these polls into demographic. They separate it by race. They separate it by age. I would love to see the numbers on people who pay taxes. Maybe you could create a threshold, people who pay $5,000 a year or more in taxes. If you were to separate it into that demographic, those people who work and pay taxes in the United States would be overwhelmingly in favor of deportation, of voter ID, and of course, with the IRS sharing information with ICE. They absolutely would. But the left has no interest in it. We got to stop. And that matters. Shouldn't it be more important to separate Americans into those who will sustain a country and those who don't, than race? Doesn't that matter? If we're looking at the economics of our country, if we're looking at birth rates of our country, we go by race, we go by gender, we go by sexual orientation, now gender identity. How about we go by, okay, who's actually going to make sure that there is an America here, a United States in 100 years' time? Let's separate those people. Let's see what they think. because you should have a say since it's your money. But we don't know what your say is. People don't separate these polls into those demos, or if they do, it's certainly not ubiquitous. Every time I look at it's race.
I've never seen
it. Never seen it. I guarantee you would see an overwhelming voting trend.
And I'm not talking about people who just pay in and get the refund back at the end of the year. I'm talking where you're at a zero. I'm saying that at the end of the year, once all the dust settles, you've put in some money.
Yep. One, because that's the group of people in this country, and that's most of you watching. I know some of you are too young to be in the workforce, who want to fix this country, who voted to fix this country. The left wants to continue breaking it. They want to continue breaking this country. And I know people say, oh, man, divide left and right. You'll get those people too. Man, let's stop with the partisan politics. No, that doesn't mean that I support all Republicans. You've seen us call them out all the time. But I am precluded from voting for the left. If you are a tax-paying American citizen today, the backbone of not just American society, the backbone of the world, none of the free stuff across the rest of the Western world takes place if not for you. If not for you, there is no NATO.
Yeah.
If not for you, there is no pharmaceutical development. If not for you, there is no technological development. You know why? Because it's protected, it's safeguarded by the American military, which you fund. Without you, there is no Western world, and your view is very, very different from those in media and those who don't pay a dime. That's why they lie to you. Oh, you're still here? And you're still watching this on YouTube? You've probably noticed something is missing by now. I'm not here. That's because the Live Daily Show is now streaming exclusively on Rumble weekdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. Tune in there, where nothing is censored.